What is up guys, it's Smotown here and I have a confession to make. I really like KITGUNS. The idea of building your own gun and experimenting with different combinations has always been really cool to me. While I do feel like secondary KITGUNS are more viable in most situations, I have always wanted to play around with primary combinations, and so I set out to try and find some decent primary combinations that can be viable in most situations. And so today I'm bringing you 5 combinations for primary KITGUNS that you can try in 2021, and these are ones that I've found to be effective and or cool. While I've used raw DPS figures as a basis for some of these, I've also played some combinations that I feel are just good to use while in the field, rather than necessarily having the highest DPS available, so please bear that in mind when reviewing this list. Remember, this is for primary KITGUNS only, and so each of these guns will be using a grip, mainly the Tremor as you'll find out, to create a primary weapon. And so with that being said, let us jump into number 5. So number 5 is a Sporelacer combination, being the Sporelacer Chamber, the Palamaris, and the Macro Thymoid. Stats wise, this gun sits in the middle, having decent critical chance and multiplier at 24% and 2 times multiplier respectively, but it also has decent status chance at 24%. This means you can take advantage of the explosive critical damage as well as its innate toxin damage. The main reason I love this combination is because the gun just handles so well and it feels so satisfying, especially if you increase the fire rate either through mods or through haste for example, in which case it will just nuke unarmoured enemies. It is full auto, so when you see a crowd of enemies just let rip until there are only little clouds of fumes remaining. The damage fall off for the explosions is not bad either, being a minimum of 80% at the furthest point from the central impact. The main issue I have with this weapon is the same I have with Catchmoon, and it seems that the shotgun chambers for primary KITGUNS have an ammo efficiency issue. The maximum you can hold is never really enough given the rates that you will dump ammo out, especially when your fire rate is higher. Even on short capture or exterminate missions, I quite often find my ammo running low. Therefore I feel both Catchmoon and Sporelacer are far more viable as secondaries. That being said, if you have an ammo restore or if you're on survival and have no issues with pickups, both shotguns are a formidable weapon. With that being said, let us move on to number 4. And so number 4 is a Catchmoon combination, being Catchmoon, Tremor and Splat. Now before you say anything, Catchmoon is actually my favourite chamber when we are talking secondaries. But as with the Sporelacer, it just isn't efficient enough and it really hurts its viability in my opinion. That being said, the Catchmoon is still extremely satisfying to use as a primary and actually extremely powerful. With the Tremor grip giving it a damage boost and Splat giving a 35% critical chance and a 2.3 critical multiplier, you are building this bad boy for its critical potential. And against single targets, it is hard to argue with the result. And in general, the Catchmoon just feels really good to use, it's really easy to handle. However, when testing it in the field, i.e. on MOT survival, I often find myself running out of ammo quite quickly. That being said, if you like the feel and the spread of the Catchmoon, and you definitely will given it feels pretty good, then you could do worse than this combination as it's a pretty good critical damage monster. That being said, let us move on to number 3. So number 3 is a Vermisplicer combination, it being Vermisplicer, Tremor and Flutterfire. So the main issue with this weapon is it's just gross to use. I mean, look at it. Ugh, disgusting. If you can get over that, then you find yourself in possession of a really decent beam weapon that is built around status and consistent damage. With a solid 39% status chance thanks to Flutterfire, and Tremor once again providing some good flat damage, this combination also comes with innate toxin, / puncture and impact damage, meaning that building it as a status machine is a no-brainer really. The clip size and ammo capacity means the Vermisplicer can continually pour out damage, but its real selling point is the fact that the disgusting tendrils arc between enemies. If you build your mods around status and status chance, this means you can decimate crowds of enemies before they can even say tenno scum, faster than any of the other guns on this list. While it only has a riven disposition of 2, the Vermisplicer can actually get some pretty decent riven. I even managed to get one with damage plus and status chance plus, which really built well into my status build. While the Vermisplicer won't wow you against bosses or 75 plus armoured enemies, it really is a fun gun to use for crowd control if you can get over how revolting it truly is, and using that arc capability to just wipe out huge crowds of enemies in a blink of an eye is really quite satisfying. So moving on to number 2, and we have a Rattleguts combination being Rattleguts, Tremor and Splat. So personally, this is my favourite of the primary KITGUNS because it's just so efficient, so easy to use and just useful in every situation, whether that be against bosses or individual enemies. The only reason it doesn't top the list is because I just can't deny the raw damage potential of the one that places number 1. But anyway, returning to the Rattleguts. The Rattleguts build is once again centered around flat damage and critical damage, with the Tremor giving it that flat damage boost and Splat helping this kit gun to have great damage potential. This build is also pretty good against higher level enemies. Unlike the shotgun primaries, it has good ammo efficiency and can push out a constant stream of damage, and in general it's just easy to use. It handles essentially like a submachine gun type weapon. I haven't got much else to say about the Rattleguts combination. It's straightforward, reliable, and I would highly recommend it as it's just a fun and easy gun to use. So we're moving on to number 1, and unsurprisingly a Tombfinger combination comes out on top of the list due to its raw damage potential. This combination being Tombfinger, Tremor and Killstream. Once again we combine with Tremor for that flat damage increase, and with Killstream loader to give it that spicy 38% crit chance and a crit multiplier of 2.3 times. I think most will be familiar with the Tombfinger, but if not, it basically is either a semi-automatic single shot or a charged AoE single shot that can result in massive AoE splash damage. I really like using it with Larva ability as it essentially brings everyone together into one spot that I can just nuke them with a classic AoE blast. If I could also just add that the charged AoE shot that does the AoE damage blast is actually very satisfying to look at. It just has some great particle effects and nothing feels really quite as powerful as a charged Tombfinger shot. Given the single shot nature of Tombfinger, I obviously recommend building it as I have, that being for critical damage so that you can maximise the massive damage that the charged shot is capable of. The uncharged shot is pretty good as well. It can definitely rip through enemies pretty easily as well, especially if you're wanting to take out enemies that are more isolated rather than saving up for that charged AoE blast, and you just want to pick off individual enemies or hit weak points on bosses. Both methods of firing the charged and uncharged are effective at taking out armoured and late game enemies, which is pretty good, which again is another reason why it tops the list. The Tombfinger combo does come with innate radiation and impact damage as well, so that's pretty sweet. All in all, the Tombfinger is ammo efficient, easy to use, has massive damage potential and is incredibly satisfying to use, which is why it makes the top of this top 5 list. So thanks guys, that is my top 5 kit gun lists for you to try in 2021. I find these to be fun primaries to use in every situation, and some of them obviously are a bit more efficient than others, but overall I find it fun making this list and I hope you enjoyed watching it too. If you have any good combinations or ones that you find fun to use, please leave them in the comments below. You know, as we'd love to discuss different kit gun combinations, as kit guns are definitely one of the more fun parts of the game in my opinion. If you like this video and you like Warframe, please consider subscribing to the channel, as I do cover Warframe content at least once a week, mainly focusing on lore, but I do other videos such as this. With that being said guys, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this, and I hope you have a very pleasant evening. Take care.